good to see you all here this morning. Happy New Year. You've probably heard that enough from everyone in the foyers and the way in, but here we are again. Happy New Year. It is so good to see you all here. Those of you who are joining us for the first time this year. Oh boy, dad jokes already. My dad had too much influence in my humor. Oh, it's hard to believe that it's already 2022. Another year has come and gone. It was full of challenges, I will say. There was a lot of ups and downs. There was a lot of things that were really gave us a run for our money, I think. But at the end of the day, it was a year full of great things here at KCC. We were able to grow our staff to help pursue the vision and extend the reach of our church. That's great. We were able to do that. We were blessed. We were able to get a bunch of our ministries back up and away from the Zoom meetings, which, the dreaded Zoom meetings. The quicker we can be gone from that back, it's been so nice to be able to, before the Christmas break, we were back in youth pretty much full swing. We've been playing lots of games, having lots of fun, and it's been really great. Really glad to be back at it. We launched our new young adults ministry. Great for that, which has been, it's seen some really good numbers in just a few months that it's been up and running. So we're really looking forward to that in the new year and what that has to bring, what that has to offer. Community Center is always busy here on Tuesdays and Thursdays yet again. It's good to see everyone back at it. And like Pastor Tom just said, we had our To Kingsville with Love dinner, which was a great success. And again, thank you to all who helped. You were all very appreciated. It was such a great time. So, the new year has come around, and every year I feel like there's this weird mixed feeling of like, oh, here it is, we're at the new start, we're at the starting line, we just passed the finish line, we're at the starting line here, but at the end of the day, nothing really changes, right? I don't know, I find myself conflicted with that. I find myself always saying like, all right, here's the beginning chunk, but at the same time, New Year's Eve day is pretty much the exact same as today. It's just a matter of, a new number on the calendar. And but all that is to say, nothing really changes. But it's cool how it's like a global reset, It's just something about everyone has that feeling of like, all right, here we go. New starts now. Let's see what this year brings. Everyone is just looking forward to the anticipation, that there's going to be great things this year, that there's going to be a difference this year, that this is going to be their year. It's going to be their year. No one else's year, just their year. I'm kidding. We make resolutions in an attempt to change things, either about ourselves or the way that things have been. I kind of gave up on resolutions back when my grade 5 teacher made me write them down and hand them in, because then I would forget them and I wouldn't do them. But I kind of gave up on the resolutions quite a few years back. But we make resolutions a lot of times to hope to change things about ourselves, our lives. It might be to quit smoking, might be to eat healthier, could be to read our Bibles a little more frequently and consistently. My wife and I made the decision that starting yesterday, so yeah, look at that, it's the second day of January, starting yesterday, so long ago, we would give up social media. Funny how you're talking about that. We would give up social media for the entire month of January. It started out, Lauren said, how about we just do a week? And I say, why not torture ourselves and do a month? So we're doing that. Man, it's surprising how often you want to just grab that phone and how the default is Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all that stuff. Not Twitter, though. We're over Twitter. But it's just something. Like, I've noticed it only in one day. I've noticed so many times when I'm just sitting there in a lull, and just the reaction is. What I did was I signed out of all my accounts except for Pastor Tom sweating because he's like, "You do the social media." I'll accept the church social media. So I will still be doing the Facebook, the Instagram, all that stuff. But it's just all the personal accounts, all the pointless, needless scrolling and liking and all that stuff. I am very excited to just get away from that for a month because it's so much time spent. I did this for a week or so, a couple months ago, and it felt good. it felt good. And, I'm not going to stand up here and be like, you should do it too, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. So much time can be wasted on trivial things, and it's good to break away. Today we're talking about change. So resolutions usually lead to change in the hopes of leading to change. So we're going to talk about change today. You're going to hear the word change a lot. You're going to hear it a lot, and I'm sorry. Change can be a great thing for us. We can be changing our daily routine. It can freshen up our day-to-day. Nothing like changing one thing about your daily routine when you kind of fall into that consistent over and over thing, and it just kind of leads for just a fresh look on life. Changing up our hair and our style, it can be refreshing occasionally when we do that. Well, look at that. Look at that handsome young man. And there's me beside him. No, that's me on the left there, in case you're wondering. That was back, I tell my youth, that was back in the bald-headed, bald-faced Pastor Colt days, right there. Not a lot of people, that's the benefit of going to a new church. People don't know your questionable fashion choices from the past, but here it is. Yeah, I was stuck in kind of a, I went to number 1 because I didn't want helmet hair because I was playing football for high school. I was facially follically challenged, so that spoke for itself. I love my gym shorts. I don't know why. That was in Florida, so whatever, it was understandable, but I've kind of moved away from the gym shorts. I got married. And I still have that Under Armour sweater because those things, they never get wrecked. But I'm happy with, there came a time when I was just like, time to make a change, time to start wearing pants, and usually it was because my wife had a say in it. And I remember when I was a kid, younger than bald-headed Colt, I would have the urge to occasionally completely rearrange my room from time to time. Because some reason, like my bed being this way, it just wouldn't do it anymore. So I had to, at 2 a.m, had to put it this way. And it would change everything. My whole life would be just better until I needed to change it again. So change, always change. Change for change's sake sometimes. We've seen some change within this church in recent years. Looking back at pictures when we were doing the parking lot remodeling, I hadn't seen this church pretty much before what it is today, size-wise. But looking back at some of the aerial shots, holy cow, this place was pretty small. And but it's so awesome to see the progressive growth throughout the years because to accommodate the growth that we've been so blessed with in this church, it's very encouraging. And then even more recently, we saw, like I mentioned, we had a big change from dirt to paved parking lot. And what a blessing that is. A lot less mud getting brought in here. Still, change can and will come our way when we least expect and least want it. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. The future is full of changes for us, changes with work, with family and friends, with health, with restrictions. We see changes to that all the time with the COVID restrictions, and there's just so much more things that they just change. They happen so much so more frequently now than ever. And it's easy to get caught up with these changes. It's easy to just get consumed by these, in the midst of all that we can be unsure about. It can seem very overwhelming. We can say, it starts to eat us up. It starts to say, I don't know what tomorrow holds for me. I don't know what a month from now holds for me. And it starts to make us sick. But one thing that we can count on, this is that even though it's a new year with new challenges being presented to us, and 12 more, I said 6 more months. I know my months. 12 more months of unforeseen changes. We serve a God who is the same yesterday, today, and forever. That's Hebrews 13:8. We serve Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, he is the same today, and he is the same forever. So my sermon in a sentence today is simply this: through all of the change, God remains the same. So the world around us is rapidly changing, like I mentioned. So much so. It's hard to keep up with. Something about it, going back to the social media aspect, so it's easier than ever to be brought up to speed on the changes. It's easier than ever to find out, what the new, who won the game last night, what celebrities passed away. It's so easy and so quick to find out all these things with just the scroll through the page, and it's just such a change from what it was a few years ago, maybe 15 years ago, when news was a little bit harder to pass along, when you'd have to be, the physical magazines and the newspapers, and you'd have to wait for the nightly news. I remember watching movies on VHS as a kid, and again, like I go back to my youth, every time I talk about VHSs, a lot of them look at me and they have no idea what I'm talking about. Of course, a lot of Eric, our guy back at Sound right now, will tell me what a floppy disk is, and I'll look at him the same way. I'll say, what the heck? And I'll hold it up and be like, it's pretty solid to me. We went from VHSs to watching, or VHS as a kid, to being introduced to DVDs. Whoa, DVDs were crazy. I always thought they were so weird how they could put it on a disc. And we saw the increase in DVD use and VHS, and we were all like, oh, DVDs are a phase. Actually, they kind of were, because now I just stream everything. So, change. It keeps on going. 15 years ago, a guy by the name of Steve Jobs announced the first iPhone, a device that would combine a touchscreen mobile device with an iPod, which was its own thing at the time, a camera, web browsing capabilities. It was going to take all these in there and all have this nice touch screen look to it. And it was going to be sleek, and it was the thing of the future. And I remember every so often it comes on my feed, especially now that it's 15 years old, and I'll see him like with the whole crowd with excitement as he holds it up and he goes, you just swipe it, and it's this little phone just like this big, and everyone's like, oh my gosh. And I look at my phone and it can unlock with my face. There's no headphone jack, but that's okay because AirPods exist now, and you don't need to plug in headphones anymore. You can just wirelessly. I don't have to untangle my tangled headphones, and even worse, I don't have the high school problem I had of having to feed it up through my shirt so that it wouldn't get snagged on anything, and then having that wire rubbing on my body all day. I didn't like that. That was weird. So, thank goodness for technology. Who can imagine that technology like this would be here 15 years ago? Well, now it just seems normal. But back then, you told someone that you're going to have wireless headphones, they'd look at you like, what are you talking about? These kinds of changes excite me. It makes me wonder what we'll see 15 years from now. I've heard rumors. I keep my ear to the rumor, whatever you call it, the rumor leakers or whatever, and they say within 15 years we might be seeing more self-driving cars and that becoming mainstream, and that's kind of crazy. Sounds very futuristic. But again, so did wireless earbuds in 2007. So you never know. I remain fascinated by the crazy and awesome things that humans are able to think up and create. But not all changes are good, right? Not every change is good. In fact, that there are many instances when life as we know it, it gets changed forever. There's a few instances in life, in history, when things are changed forever. We've seen world wars. We've seen depressions, crashes. We've seen terrorist attacks. And all of which have tweaked how life is lived. All of which have had a ripple effect on how things go. You look back and you say, back in the day, you could have done this. You could never have done that today. The changes and effects of the nearly 2 years of quarantining and isolating are not clear at this moment, but there will surely be practices and ways pre-COVID that probably won't continue. And it'll be very interesting to see. It'll be interesting that this moment will be something that we look back on in history classes and see how it affected the world. Negative changes are inevitable in everyone's life. They're inevitable. It's going to happen, unfortunately. On a more personal scale, that's a global scale. On a more personal scale, in 15 years, we don't know, what our family is going to look like. That could be good or bad. We don't know which loved ones are going to be with us 15 years from now. We don't know, how will our health be holding up? Where will we be working? Will we be working? Where will we be living? The list goes on. These things are oftentimes beyond our control. These things, we can't control them, and because of that, it terrifies us. But God tells us that we need not to worry about such things. So you remember, a couple of weeks ago I was up here, and we talked about something. We talked about making, what was it now? It had something to do with like Christmas, and it was like gifts. And can anyone? Anyone remember what the name of our little sermon series was? There we go. 3 people were paying attention. Awesome. Yes. So we were talking about an exchange, and we were talking, and I was the first week, and we talked about making an exchange. We were exchanging our worries, and he would give us something back, and he was giving back his peace. So I'm not here to give you the same message as last time, but I do think it is important that as we begin this new year, that we look at a couple things about worrying about what the future holds for us. And as we went on through the message, we came on three important points when it came to, how do we give him our worry? How do we stop worrying? And, what do we do instead? Well, the 3 things were we let Jesus be king, we live a day at a time, and we lean on the faithfulness of God. These are great things to keep in mind as we head first into a new year of who knows what. Is just let him be king, live a day at a time, and lean on his faithfulness. Let's circle back. We're going to circle back to our main point here. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. So this is encouraging. This is very encouraging for a few reasons. This has a couple meanings here you can look at for those who believe. First off, it means that God is the same mighty God that we read about in the Old and New Testament. And we read some crazy things that went on back then, eh? We read some wild things that you'd look at, and again, you'd look back and say, how could this have happened? How could this sea be parted? But we serve a God who parted the sea for his people to escape Egypt. And he is the same God in our corner today. And that should encourage us. It means that his promises stand even today, so many years after they were spoken. I want to share a few promises that made to God's people. There are a lot. I have 3 here. I don't want you to think they're limited to this. We have 3 promises. There's lots more, but these jumped out to me. These grabbed my attention here. And these first 2 promises deal with the challenges that come, the fearful situations that we will face, and the discouragement that will come our way. And the first one's found in Deuteronomy 31:6. It says this: "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." And then second, in Joshua 1:5 says, "I will not fail you or abandon you. This is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." So these promises were spoken to a people at that time who had just fled slavery. They had just gotten out of Egypt. They had just seen giant parted waters. They had walked right through it. And, they were just wandering around, not knowing what the next day would bring. Their faith was really tested during this time. We were doing a devotional a couple weeks ago, and we talked about the manna and how it really caused them to have to really just take it a day at a time. When the manna would come for the day, and by the next day it would spoil, and they would have to have faith that the next day God would give them more. So God was teaching them some things. And they were afraid at times. They were discouraged, lots, yes. But God promises them that they need not worry. He says that he will never leave us or forsake us no matter what. He says that he is with us wherever we go. And he says that he will not fail me or us. He will not fail me. He will not abandon me. And these words hold the same truth for us today, because he is the same God then, and he's the same God now. The third verse is a promise that inspires hope. Isaiah 43:19 says this: "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." Now, a couple things being said here. 2 things for this verse. First half, he's trying to grab our attention. He's saying, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" So the wording of this verse, it's to call us to see what's going on. And when I read this, the first thing that it made me think of, that kind of spoke to me, is that God is working all the time. He is working in many ways. And a lot of times we need hey, don't you see this? Can't you see it? Open your eyes, wake up. So I see this as kind of a spiritual wake-up call, kind of a look around you. Can't you see what I'm actively doing? This thing to get you through the thing you're worried about? Because at the same time, I like to envision that God is doing this thing here, and we're over here stressing about, this upcoming project, this, the financial matters, the home matters, stuff like this that we're just trying to wrap our minds around and say, I got to get myself through this. And he's like, I'm right here. Don't you see this? Don't you see what I'm doing for you right here? In the second half, he says what he's doing. I am making a way in the wilderness, in streams in the wasteland. So he's actively making a way for us. I like the wording of this because it says, I am making a way for you, not I will make a way for you. Because when you say I will make a way, it still allows for someone to say, oh, but what if he doesn't? What if the way doesn't get made? He's saying, I am making a way for you right now. I am making a way through the wilderness. You're trying so hard to cut through on your own, and I am making streams in the wasteland where you have given up on ever being replenished again. That's what he's saying. He is actively doing these things. Our God is reminding us that he is actively working now, and because he's the same yesterday, today, and forever, he's going to keep doing it. And we believe that. Change happens. Plans change. Who likes making plans here? I just raised my hand to get us started. I don't. My wife makes all the plans. I just say, okay, or I'm tired. And then we go anyway. So I'm a very fly by the seat of my pants kind of guy. My wife will say, we're going to do this. We're going to go here. We got something coming up tomorrow. Usually it goes like that, and the day comes, and it's like, all right, you ready to go? And I'm like, I don't know what we're doing. So it's how it goes. There's two different types of people. But I don't make a whole lot of plans, but a lot of people love to make plans. A new year awaits so many possibilities, and people love to make plans for it. The other thing we were doing was looking at a potential vacation, like a little trip away, in a couple months from now. And this was a few months ago that they were talking about this, the Rives and their family, their trip. And I just say, well, you know what? Let me know a week ahead of time, and I'll pack my bag and we'll go. That's how I like to do it. I look ahead and I'm already thinking that there's stuff I would like to do. I do a little bit of planning. There's some projects I'd like to get done. There's some changes I might make. But I can't help but look at it with a little bit of nervousness. That's part of the reason why I don't like making plans in the beginning, because I kind of have that feeling of like, oh, but what if it gets canceled? And all this planning was for nothing. So if I don't plan, it can't get canceled. Probably not a good way to look at it. But when it comes to work or school and stuff like that, I got to look ahead. But there's always a little bit of nervousness, because plans change. The things I thought I would do, they just fall through. And there I am, scrambling to figure out my next move. That's always fun. The Bible talks about plans. In James 4, it says this, now listen, you who say today or tomorrow, we will go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business, and make money. Why, you do not even know what will happen tomorrow. You do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if it is the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. We want to have every detail planned out. We're blessed to be living in a time where we can really organize things well. We can put things in calendars, we can put things in planners, and we can put reminders in our phones, and our phones can remind us. We want to have every detail planned out, but and there's probably some people in this room that if you could have your entire 2022 planned out down to the minute, I know Pastor Katie probably would. She plans itineraries on vacation. Come on. But you probably would. You probably have it all down. That way you know what's going to happen and no surprises. Where's the fun in that? That's what I say. The misconception of this verse is that we should then all live flying by the seat of our pants and then never plan for anything. Then you look at that and you say, well, what about, kids, grandkids? What about a home? What about jobs and stuff like that? It's like, okay, it doesn't really necessarily apply to that. What it's meaning more so is that we get all of these plans in our mind and how our life has to go, and it's all done without God's guidance sometimes. Sometimes, because it's very easy to just say, this is what I want to do, and then work to do it. But what it's saying is, what we need to start doing is saying, Lord willing, I'll do this. And then don't be surprised if he says, not willing, and changes the plan a little bit. It's about being ready to kind of adapt on the fly when you realize that what I want isn't what he wants for me. And all this to say is change is inevitable. I think I've said that enough. And we will see uncontrollable changes no matter what. You're probably saying, well, like, how do we, there's got to be some way around it. Changes are inevitable and we can't avoid it, but how do I avoid it? Right? Well, unfortunately, this isn't a TED Talk on where I reveal the secrets of how to avoid, surprises. Just expect a person to be standing around every corner and you'll never get scared. No way to live. The question remains, how do we actually prepare ourselves? And our good piece of advice is found in the Psalms. That's Psalm 18:2 to be exact. We're going to look at that right now. It says, the Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. My God is my rock in whom I take refuge, my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. See, when we build our lives on him, when we make God our foundation, when we make him what we stand on, he is not only an unshakable ground beneath our feet, but he's an unbreakable wall that surrounds us at all times. While he is actively making a way for us through these dangerous wildernesses that we talked about, he's shielding us from harm. We not only need to cast our worries on Jesus, like we talked about last year, to allow him to lead us through the wilderness that we face, that is inevitable, but we hand over our plans to him and also start this new year ensuring that nothing but our God is our foundation, that we're not standing on anything else. It's dangerous because sometimes you have one foot on God and one foot on, insert whatever here. And when that thing gives way, you're left off balance. If you're standing completely on it, when that thing gives way, where's your foundation? Changes will really have a big effect on us if our foundation is not set. When we're built on anything else, we have a hard time staying afloat, but God as our foundation will hold us together and will make getting through that change that much easier. Now, I went a little over, but I want to invite you to stand with me as we close. We talked a lot about change today. And I don't mean for this to be kind of a, nervous thing. I don't mean to say, get ready because things are going to happen and we're not going to be ready for them. I want this to be a time where we look at the new year, not with fear, but with anticipation and expecting great things and making sure that our priorities are straight, making sure that our foundation is solid. Making sure that he is who we're standing on, not money, not status, not fashion, whatever. There's so many things. There's so many things that it could be. Everyone has their thing that inevitably become what they stand on, what they kind of identify with. And when that thing, falls away or crumbles, then they're left with kind of, what am I now? I want to invite you today that as we stand, I want to invite you to close your eyes and bow your heads in this place. I want to start off this new year in a special way. I don't want this just to be, all right, head on home, have a great Sunday, have a good Sunday nap. Let's prepare for this new year. We sang this morning, our God is the way maker. He is the miracle worker, promise keeper, and he is the light in the darkness. And as we begin this new year, let's start it off right. You already took a step in the right direction today because you're here today, or you're watching online, or you're watching on TV. You're starting this new year off well. It's a good step. Whether that's just become, natural that, Sunday is where I'm going to go to church, it's still a choice. It was a good choice today. Start the year off good. Start the year off right. But now let's take the next step. I want you to think of the year ahead, 2022, okay? And you're your mind, just think, what are your goals? What do you have planned? What's your plans? What are your concerns? What are you concerned about this year? What do you fear this year? What are you dreading this year? Can we start off this year by giving these things to God? January 2nd, just 2 days into the new year. Can we start it off by giving these things right to God, right off the bat? We start off this year by saying, God, I'm hopeful for change this year. Hopeful for good change, but I know that not so good change can come my way too. And I'm taking the first step towards the good change. See, change doesn't just happen all the time, especially in this instance, this kind of change that we're hoping to gain. We're hoping to gain, a better year, a more meaningful, whatever, a blank. We're hoping to strengthen our marriage, our relationships, our friendships. We're hoping to get healthier. We're hoping to, insert in a blank here. It all starts. We start with just giving it all over to Him. Because when we hold on to these things, and we hope to also change, there's not enough room there. So a good analogy is, let's say you go on a trip. You bring a lot of clothes in your suitcase and it's packed right to the brim. And you say, well, I got to bring a souvenir back for literally every single person I've ever known. Well, there's no room for the clothes. There's no room for some of the important things. So when we look at the new year and hope to gain this change, but we still want to hold on to the old, we still want to keep ourselves filled up with what we should be letting go, can the change happen? We have to let these things go. We have to hand these things off. And that's what we're doing today. We're saying, God, take these things. Lord, the things that plagued me and the things that weighed me down in 2021, take them. We're leaving them behind. We're leaving them behind today. Lord, the ways that I conducted myself, the words I used or the thoughts I thought, take them. Don't let them go into this new year. We abandon these things today. They're no good for us. We think of 2022. What are we hopeful for? What do we fear? What are we thinking of today? Worries or concerns? Just hand them over right now. Whatever it is, say, I'm trusting you with this because I know that you are the same God yesterday, today, and forever. Yesterday, today, and forever. Say that thing by name. God, I'm giving this blank. I'm giving this to you. God, I'm giving this to you today. And I'm trusting you to make a way if and when it rears its head, when this challenge appears, when this fear shows up. Just take it, Lord. What about our plans? What plans do we have this year? Are we going about it the right way? Or should we be saying, Lord willing, this will happen. Lord willing, I will do this. Let's start right now. Whatever plans we had, Lord willing, this is what I will do. Lord willing, I'm going to make that change. Lord willing, I'm going to buy that car. Lord willing, I'm going to do this. But at the same time, we understand that, plans change. Sometimes you're the one changing them. So help us to be ready. Help us to live in a way that as soon as those plans are changed, we're not saying, oh, it's all falling apart. We're understanding that, God, you are leading us where you want us to be, and you are controlling these changes. You are controlling these plans. And Lord, we believe for the great things this year. But in order to reach your people and to do these things, these great things, we got to make sure that we're set. We got to make sure that we are sturdy, Lord. So we are looking today and we are saying, you are the only foundation. Again, by name, what is the thing that you're on? And if it's anything but Jesus, let's change that today. Say it right now. Say, Lord, I'm giving this up. Lord, this is no longer my foundation. You are my foundation. You are my rock, my solid rock, my protective wall that will protect me in all things. Lord, we pray these things in your name because we know that you are the same God yesterday, today, and forever. We believe for these things. We believe for a great, great new year. And Lord, that we are going to be able to do great things in your name, and that you will do great things in your church and in this country and on this planet, Lord. Lord, we are so very hopeful. And Lord, we started off right this year by making sure you are the focus. You are our foundation. We love you, Lord. And Lord, as we leave this place today, that we would not forget that this would be a year long and it would become a lifelong thing. That our foundation would remain you, because you are the same yesterday, today, and forever. And everyone said, amen.